Last week, we broke the news that Max Verstappen might be on his way to Aston Martin to partner up with Adrian Newey, who seems set to join the Green Team on a major contract. However, in the last 48 hours, things have suddenly changed, and this might create a big upset in this year's silly season. As suddenly out of nowhere, Mercedes has entered the race once again to sign Verstappen. Thus, the shadow of Max Verstappen still hangs over Mercedes, with Toto Wolff not completely giving up on signing the Red Bull driver for the 2025 Formula One season. At least that is the latest news coming from Formula One press conference host Tom Clarkson, who reckons Verstappen is more likely to transfer in 2026, after comparing statistics from Red Bull and Mercedes and Aston Martin. Max Verstappen plans to analyse Mercedes, Aston Martin and Red Bull data before making a huge choice. Mercedes is yet to reveal the name of George Russell's teammate for next season, after current resident Lewis Hamilton stated earlier this year that he will join Ferrari on a multi-year contract beginning in F1 2025. Andrea Kimi Antonelli is largely seen as the frontrunner to follow Hamilton, with rumours last week indicating Mercedes will make an announcement before the Italian Grand Prix weekend later this month. However, persistent speculations this season have connected Mercedes to a big bid for Verstappen, with team manager Toto Wolff making no secret of his desire to capture the reigning three-time world champion. And this time the clock is ticking as Aston Martin is actively going after Verstappen. Could this cause Wolff to make a major bid? Despite having a contract until the end of 2028, Verstappen is expected to depart Red Bull earlier due to conflict between his father Jos and team head Christian Horner, as well as the team's lagging on-track performance. If Verstappen is now out of reach, Mercedes may attempt again next year in time for the F1 2026 regulation changes, with the team's preparations for the sport's future era thought to be well underway. Clarkson stated on the F1 Nation podcast that Wolff has not yet surrendered defeat in his attempts to sign Verstappen for F1 2025. He stated, "There is still a shadow of Max Verstappen over Mercedes. I think Toto Wolff still hasn't completely given up on the thought of having Verstappen in one of his cars next year. But all the messaging we're getting from Red Bull, and actually from Max, is that Max will be at Red Bull for 2025. And who are we to question what Max is saying, if that's what he's saying publicly?" Clarkson went on to say that Verstappen is expected to make a better informed decision about his future in 2025, with Mercedes prepared to lure him with access to the team's F1 2026 engine data. He said, "He'll see what Red Bull powertrains are doing with their power unit this time next year. He'll then go and see what Mercedes high-performance powertrains are doing in Brixworth with theirs, and he'll have the numbers in front of him to be able to make the right call for 2026. Clarkson's co-host, the 1996 world champion Damon Hill, added, "I think he'll be at Red Bull for 25, but I think he can then wait and see more clearly. I think 26 is definitely up for grabs." In a recent interview, Red Bull head engineer Paul Monaghan expressed confidence that the team is on track with their F1 2026 engine, the first manufactured by the company's in-house powertrain section. Monaghan hopes that Red Bull's engine will be as good, if not better, than their existing power unit from Honda, which will equip Aston Martin beginning in 2026. He went on, "The work I have seen between the Red Bull chassis side and the Red Bull powertrain side is as good, if not stronger, than I've seen with any of our power unit suppliers. We're very indebted and very grateful to Honda for everything they've done with us. But now we are all under one umbrella. I think the opportunity to be better, merged with the power unit, is one that we can't forget or give up or deny ourselves. If we want to be as strong as we can be in 26, we have to make that project work." So the challenges are there, but equally, the scope to do at least as good a job, if not a better one than we've enjoyed with Honda, is there for us. Earlier this week, veteran Red Bull driver and Dutch television analyst Robert Doornbos predicted that Mercedes will have heavy competition from Aston Martin in the race to recruit Verstappen. Aston Martin is now in the midst of establishing a successful F1 operation, with the club apparently preparing to hire design genius Adrian Newey from Red Bull as a significant boost to their hopes. Doornbos believes Aston Martin would next shift their focus to Verstappen, with the team sparing no expense in their pursuit of the 26-year-old driver. In a post on his LinkedIn profile, Doornbos wrote, "Max Verstappen's relationship with Mercedes remains strong. Mercedes has an open seat for 2025, and it's likely that during the Monza weekend they'll announce that Kimi Antonelli will get the chance to debut in Formula One alongside George Russell. I still believe Max will join Mercedes in 2026, although Aston Martin will do everything to sway him, sparing no expense." Led by Lawrence Stroll, Aston Martin has been aggressively pushing to become title contenders within 5 years. Now in their 3rd year, they must make significant strides in the next 2. Their exclusive engine deal with Honda in 2026 positions them as a factory team, and Stroll is investing $1 billion to achieve his championship dream. With 2-time champion Fernando Alonso already on board and advances made to Max Verstappen, they're aiming for the best of the best. And whilst we're talking about Aston Martin, it isn't that crazy of an idea. From Adrian Newey to Fernando Alonso to their cutting-edge facilities, Aston Martin would be an exciting alternative for a driver like Max Verstappen, who wants the very best. So Mercedes will have to make one hell of an offer to Verstappen if they want to sign him. Despite stating yes to staying as a Red Bull driver next season, Verstappen remains connected to rival teams, with Mercedes actively wooing the driver and, more lately, speculation circulating that Aston Martin is interested in him. So, Mercedes have to get their act together and act quick, because Aston Martin is coming in hot. According to Italian Daily Autosprint, after convincing design great Newey to join Aston Martin in a $100 million deal, team owner Lawrence Stroll has now turned his attention to Verstappen. According to the newspaper, discussions are already beginning with the triple world champion set to join the team in 2026. According to reports, Stroll would even relocate his son Lance to Aston Martin's World Endurance Championship program to make place for Verstappen. It's that serious. But it raises the question, why would Verstappen pick Aston Martin over his present team, Red Bull, with whom he has won 63 Grand Prix and 3 World Championships? For that matter, why Aston Martin rather than Mercedes, which had won 8 Constructors and 7 Drivers' Championships in a row before to Red Bull's dominance? Former McLaren technician Mark Priestley feels it's because Aston Martin can provide Verstappen with the opportunity to be surrounded by the very best, not just in terms of the team's new cutting-edge facilities, but also in terms of team members such as Newey and quadruple world champion Alonso. Could Aston Martin also be a destination for Max Verstappen? He said on his YouTube page. Now this seems like a very strange and unlikely one, and yet it was a rumour. Max Verstappen to Aston Martin alongside Adrian Newey. Well, that could be a dream team of its own, couldn't it? Now if you think about that, yes, a driver pairing of Verstappen and Fernando Alonso, if he's still around at that point, that is a wonderful partnership. They are building a great team of engineers in the background, and if they got an Adrian Newey and the people he wants around him, the design team is also looking pretty great. They have got a wonderful facility with very best and latest when it comes to things like wind tunnel. All things that are exciting to both an engineer like Adrian, but also to a driver like Max. Someone who is looking to be surrounded by the very best as he moves forward in his career, if indeed he ends up leaving the Red Bull team. Verstappen and Alonso would be a dream lineup for any team, but it might also cause some problems because neither is a driver who is prepared to give up. They do, however, share mutual respect, with Verstappen describing Alonso as a great example of the benefits of being dedicated to Formula One and saying he had a lot of respect for the Spaniard. From his perspective, Alonso describes the quadruple world champion as a normal person who enjoys motorsport and is very fast. I think his attitude and behaviour here in the circuit, he is very normal, and I like these kinds of things. Could this really happen? What do you think? Will any of these two teams walk away with a signature from Max Verstappen before the end of the year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.